Bobby gradually slowed his feeding and fell asleep again. Mary took him into the nursery, put him into Thomas's crib, then returned to find her ex still hanging on to the railing of the playpen with his diapers down to his knees. She stood over Thomas and said, "Is Tommy horny? Aunt Mary will take care of that." She reached down and picked him up. His diaper slithered down his legs and dropped off into the playpen as she hoisted him over the side and into her arms. Mary picked up the diaper and carried him back to the couch. She sat down with him on her lap, lifted his feet and put them through his diaper. She pulled the diaper up over his bulging tummy with one hand while unbuttoning her blouse with the other. Did Tommy like watching Bobby nurse? Does Tommy like looking at Aunt Mary's teats? You always liked them when you were my husband, she said, tickling and petting the front of his diaper. Would Tommy like some TID? She said, taking his hand and stroking her breast and nipple with his fingers. He lay there excited, red-faced, and fully erect under his diaper. The smell of her breasts intoxicated him, made him want to grab them and suck. She laid his head next to her breast and held him closely. He was so near to her nipple that he could smell the rich aroma of milk coming from her tit. She smiled broadly at him and said, "The sight of Bobby at my tit turns you on, doesn't it? You always wanted me to let you nurse at my tit. Now that you're a baby, I guess I'll let you. Do you promise to behave yourself while we're shopping? Will Tommy be a good baby if he gets some TID?" He watched as she lifted her teat free of her blouse and guided it to his mouth. "Sweet baby," she murmured, as his cheek touched her breast and his mouth sought and took in the tit. His lips snuggled the aureole and nursed passionately. He put his lips around the nipple and felt the nipple grow, become erect and fill his mouth. He swallowed involuntarily and a jet of milk filled his mouth, trickling over his tongue and down his throat. His hunger for her tit consumed him. He swallowed greedily and gorged himself on her milk. Whimpering softly in unconscious pleasure, he began sucking noisily, lost in his return to infantile gratification. She switched teats and let him nurse the other for 5 minutes. Mary put her finger into the side of his mouth to break the suction and took the nipple from his lips. He lay in her arms serenely, content to lie cradled securely in her arms and bask in her embrace. His thumb snuck between his lips and he sucked it with a gratified expression. Mary looked down and smiled at her diapered, infant-sized ex-husband. He was the picture of a dulcetly charming, thumb-sucking baby. The sight of him nestled sweetly against her breasts, eyelids drooping and yawning with drowsiness aroused her maternal instincts. She grinned in spite of herself. Tom turned into such an adorable baby, she thought. She held him close to her face and whispered, "It's time for baby to go night-night." She took Thomas into the nursery and put him in the crib with their infant son. Mary turned on the TV and waited for Marge to get back. She was taking an awfully long time. Bobby woke up and started crying. Marge shook her head. Every time she sat down, Bobby needed something. She was glad she had decided to give Tom back to his mother. She didn't think she'd have been able to take care of them both. Mary got up and went to the nursery and checked on the boys. Bobby's crying had woken up Thomas and he was sitting with a dazed expression on his face beside Bobby in the crib. She picked them both up, settled one on each hip and carried them into the family room. She put Thomas in the playpen and knelt down on the floor with Bobby. Mary checked Bobby's diaper. It was just as she had suspected, he was wet and dirty. Thomas stood at the side of the playpen and watched intently while she changed Bobby's diaper.